And it's like, don't identify with your thoughts. You know, like one of the things that, I don't remember where I heard it before, but the way I like to think about it, and I've heard you say before, even like a lot of people say like, oh, I struggle with meditating. And I've heard you say before where it's not about mastering your thoughts. It's not about making your thoughts go away. It's just becoming aware of your thoughts a little bit more. Because when we close our eyes, you know, about 60% of our brain is visual, for visual things to see. So when we close our eyes, it kind of turns off a lot of parts. And so thoughts usually come up and we become aware of those. Like one of the things that I've been doing a lot recently is like trying to be in as much silence as possible. Like I'm just trying to be as much silence as I possibly can, because I feel like that's where a lot of my awarenesses and a lot of my answers come from. And so when you sit there, and the analogy that I love when you start thinking of your thoughts is it's like sitting on the edge of a mountain, and down below there's just a road going that you're looking at. And sitting on the edge of the mountain is like meditating or just sitting in silence and just, you know, looking at your thoughts. And you can watch the cars go by, the thoughts that go by, and not have to be attached to them. You don't find yourself getting sucked into the red car that just went by. You just watch the cars go by. And that's the way that I try to see my thoughts, which is, okay, I'm gonna watch them go by. I'm not gonna connect to them, but I can look at them and be like, is this thought, which, you know, about 90% of our thoughts are the same as yesterday, is this thought helping me in trying to get to where I want to be in life? Or is this thought holding me back from trying to get to where I want to be in life? And if it's helping me, then I want to strengthen it. If it's not helping me, well then, hey, as that guy on the podcast said, I can't control my first thought, but I control my second. So what would I prefer my second thought to be? I always like to be like very extreme in examples, because if we can go extreme, then it makes a lot of sense. But I always tell people like, and I always say it like, hey, I've given this when I used to give a lot of speeches. I would be in front of people and I'd say, hey, what's the chance of you making $1 million this year? Give me numbers. And everyone's like 0%, 0%, 0%, 1%. There's always 1%. It's like 5. And that's like the most it'll get to. And I said, okay, I'm gonna give you the most extreme example, but I just wanna see what happens, okay? What's the percentage chance of you making $1 million this year legally? And if you don't, everyone that you love dies. And everyone's like 100%, 100%, 1,000, 1,000%. I said, what changed? The goal didn't change. The time frame didn't change. Why you're doing it changed. Would you wake up in the morning if everyone that you love's life depended on it and be like, yeah, well, maybe I should scroll on TikTok for a little while? No, you'd be like, I'm gonna take action immediately. And so it doesn't need to be like a fear of losing everybody, but what's really behind that is like why they're doing it. Like if I give a reflection of anyone who doesn't know Jay, like you're one of the hardest working people I've ever met, but you have a really strong why, right? And that's like one of the best parts about it, where it's like, when I see Jay, I'm like, this guy he has this internal feeling of like, I want to change the world. And you work so hard trying to do it. And that's one of the most beautiful things about you is like, you're wanting to change the world and you have a really strong why to it. And I think that if most people could figure out like, oh yeah, well, I want to do this thing. Why do you want to do it? And my very first one-on-one coach used to say to me, he would say, what's your why? What's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? He would like hammer it home in my head. And I was like, why do you ask this so much? And he would always say, because if your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself. If you know why you want to do something, how it's going to be done, you'll figure out. It doesn't matter. Things are going to get in your way. There's going to be obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be moments of like, I don't know if I can do this. But if your why is so strong, it's like, I don't care what comes up in front of me. I'm going to get it done. Like most people, they want to be motivated. And I have come to hate the word motivation, because motivation is so fleeting. Like we can wake up and we can listen to a podcast where we can get, read something and be motivated. And then something can happen to us and it's gone. It just disappears. What I want to be is I want to be driven. Like when you see a driven person, like you see it in their eyes, like, yeah, they're not stopping. And the difference between a motivated person and a driven person is that the driven person has this why that they want to see have happen in the world or in their life or for their family. And so I think if people are like, I want to accomplish this goal, the very next question is why? And then go why, and go deeper into it. An example I give in the book is I had a coaching client years ago, like 8-9 years ago. And he was like, Rob, I want to make $100,000 this year. I've never made it. And I was like, why? And I took him through what's called 7 levels of why. Just keep asking why. And it went from, I want to make $100,000 this year because I've never done it before, to the eventual thing was he had just got into a divorce a couple years ago. Both of his young children lived in a bad part of town with his ex-wife. He wanted to regain custody because he was afraid that both of his children would be killed in a drive-by. And he was so terrified of it that was his actual true why. And so it wasn't the motivation. I didn't have to talk to him and say, hey, you know, how close you to make $100,000 this year? I said, hey, how close are you to providing more safety for your children this year? Because he wanted them to move in with him. He wanted to be able to provide for them and to make sure that they were safe. And so I think that if we just ask ourselves, why do I truly want to accomplish this goal? It kind of reveals itself and it makes it a lot easier to take the action.
Yeah.